In this video, we'll discuss how large eyes often associate with extroversion and sensitivity, as well as ideas to consider. Enjoy. Welcome back, everybody. In today's face reading tutorial, we're talking about the size of the eyes, specifically large eyes, and what that typically associates to in terms of personality structure. So what I always like to say about face reading, the caveat I give is, if you watch my content, I say this a lot. You can't look at a single feature and say, it explicitly means this. That's not how face reading works. Think of isolated features like the eyes or the nose or the mouth or the ears or whatever. You want to think about that and have the general core pattern that's associated with it. And then you have to average that feature out with the other features on the face. And that's the trickiest part about face reading, is the averaging out. So that means, yes, people with large eyes can be introverted, but it's likely because they have other features that point to introverted metrics. So don't think large eyes explicitly mean this. Think of this as core symbols with consistent patterns, and then your job through watching my videos and learning about face reading is to average it out with the other features. Two primary themes I want to be on your radar for large eyes. One is extroversion. The second one is sensitivity. I'm going to dive into those and explain those a bit. So with extroversion, yes, the clinical, technical definition is that extroversion is about a person who needs to be out in the world. They're extroverted. They like to be social. They like to talk to people. This can be very true with people with large eyes. They can be very much an open book. They like to share their feelings. They like to share their thoughts. They usually have a pretty good capacity to dialogue and to share and to be open. That's great. And with that comes social connection. So you can definitely see that extroverted capacity. The thinking with face reading is if you carry a feature, you should be wielding it because that's what facilitates life force. I use the tiger analogy quite a bit. If you look at a tiger, it has claws and it has sharp teeth. Chances are that points to it being predatory, likely carnivorous. It's not meant to roam the fields like a cow and eat grass, most likely. So we want to think form and function relate. Human beings are no different, and features are looked at it like this. So extroversion. Now, extroversion is a two-way street. Some people who have large eyes, sometimes what they'll find themselves in this situation, been true in my life, is that you meet someone, you don't know them well, and they tell you their life story. They're very willing to sort of divulge a lot. And the theory is, the eyes are a gateway or a portal to the mind. We all instinctively know this because we all instinctively face read. When we see a big open door, it's like someone standing at their house with an open door saying, come on in. So the extroversion can come the opposite way. Maybe they contain their energy a bit, but people draw to them, kind of like a magnet. They're willing to talk, divulge, share. So that's sort of the other side of extroversion. But if you have large eyes, these are themes to be thinking about, and you want to plug this into your life terrain relative to you and your personality. The next one is sensitivity. That does not mean frail. So when we hear sensitivity in modern times is, oh, people are too sensitive. And for the record, I do think that generally in the political sphere, everything, people are highly sensitive. I grew up in a different era. I was born in 81, more politically incorrect time where everyone made fun of each other across the board for everything. But these days, if you are critical and make fun of things, a lot of times people get really triggered. I don't think that's good. I don't think that kind of sensitivity is a good thing. It doesn't breed resiliency. And when your emotions are very volatile, that's not great. But that sensitivity can come that way. So with the eyes being a portal to the soul, to the consciousness, the mind, a lot can come in. And so the person with large eyes also needs to protect that sensitivity and learn how to become resilient and filter it and refine it. It's got to be tempered in the crucible so that you don't become too frail and too triggered and too activated by the things you see and experience. Now, that sensitivity can also come in other forms. So for me, I have large eyes. I'm using myself as a reference, and I hold true to the theory. I'm not sensitive in the sense that I can't take a joke. I'm not sensitive to politics and those kinds of things. Those things just don't trigger me for whatever reason. But what I am highly sensitive to is visual cues. So the eyes, right, are used for vision. I come from an art background. So for me, just as an example, highly sensitive to my environments, seeing clutter, art, the style of art in my home, the things I wear, how I tend to my vehicle, how it looks. Like I have a sensitivity to that. If something is off, I'm a little, I'd say borderline OCD. Not completely, but it's definitely in there. If my wife or daughter leave a disheveled towel in the bathroom, I'm definitely the person who's going to straighten it and make it look nice, because that visual order really helps me stay on point. I'm not pissed if I see it. I'm sure after 3 weeks of a disheveled towel, I'm like, hey, can you guys fold the towel? But the idea is that I'm not angry about it, but it helps me to stay focused. If I can keep things organized, and when I am stressed, one of the first things I do is clean my environments, because I know I have a sensitivity in the visual spectrum. So that sensitivity is pretty real. You got to pay attention to it. But again, think about it in terms of large eyes can be sensitivity to environments. It can be, yes, to visual things. It can be sensitive to people's words. But again, it's that big door letting things in. So again, these metrics are going to be changed a bit depending on the rest of the face, but I think it's important, and it genuinely is, to understand what features mean isolated, and then the averaging is the intuitive part. That's where it comes in. So if you have questions around the eyes, the size of the eyes, personality, any of that stuff, please put them down in the comments, and as always, thanks for your time.